Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Welcome to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast live on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in, those that have. And whether you're looking at it live or you're looking at it, recorded. Thank you all so much, and hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm recording this on a Monday, so hope everybody had a good and safe weekend. I'm back home. Spent the weekend in Jacksonville, Florida. Had a real good time out there. So looking forward to talking to some of you and interacting with some of you on this edition. Of course, today's topic is about Alvin Kamara. We're talking about Alvin Kamara because Alvin Kamara ended up going to a NASCAR event over the weekend in support of NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace. And, NASCAR is kind of changing some things around. As some of you may know, they're no longer allowing the Confederate flags to be flown during NASCAR events. And Alvin Kamara went out there to support Bubba Wallace, an African American NASCAR driver who is a person that has kind of been the catalyst and a person that has been kind of leading that particular charge to try to remove Confederate flags from NASCAR events. And, I think it was about time that they did stuff like that. This world is changing. And rather you have some people out there that don't want the world to change, or they're upset that the world is indeed changing. And you have people that are waking up to some of these issues that are going on in this country. Look, the only thing I can tell you is the people that don't want to get with it, you're going to get left behind. But the fact that about the Confederate flag, I think people already know. The fact is the Confederate flag and what it meant, and it can be offensive to a lot of people. So it's good that NASCAR decided to crack down on it. Alvin Kamara did receive some backlash by attending the event in support of Bubba Wallace. One guy in particular, I think his name is Harry Henderson the fourth, ended up calling Alvin Kamara the N-word. Due to the fact that Alvin Kamara showed his support to Bubba Wallace at a NASCAR event. It's crazy that you have people out here in this world right now that just want football players and basketball players to not say things that's going on. And for selfish reasons, they want them to not be involved in some of these social issues because they don't want their sport to be involved with things and they don't want to talk about these things. That's why one of the reasons I never shy away from these type of topics on the show. And honestly, I don't care if I lose viewers. I don't care if I lose followers because of it. But these are things that are going on in this country, and it has reached the front door of our favorite football team and also one of our favorite pastimes, which is the NFL. So the fact that guy ended up calling Alvin Kamara the N-word, that was just disrespectful. It was disgusting. It was pathetic. And he should be ashamed of himself. And I'm pretty sure he wasn't. He probably did. He probably didn't think that it was going to get the attention. But the fact that he has the wherewithal to the confidence in himself to believe that he can just drop an N-bomb and just disrespect a football player like that just because the man doesn't agree with the viewpoints that you agree with is absolutely sad. I've been posting things on my Facebook page, and I put out a very and I like to think a very heartfelt statement. When it comes to like color and race and stuff like that. And you still have people out here who don't want to wake up, don't want to be objective to people's statements. They don't want to be objective to people's point of views. They don't want to understand that there are people that were born and raised differently from them. There were people that went through different situations differently from them, and they only look at it, from their own particular standpoint. And you have people out here with a lot of racist rhetoric, and it's sad, man. I've created, the State of the Saints to bring people together, to, for us to be able to talk about some of these topics that go on. And it's just sad that people just don't want to deal with some of these things that's going on. They just want to be tone deaf, and they don't want to focus on some of these issues. It's sad. It's just absolutely sad. And I feel bad for them, man, because, it's amazing to me how people just feel like they're going to go to heaven, or they're doing God's work, or they talking about God, and they talking about country and stuff like that. And they just think that God is just going to, open up his doors once they pass on to them. I don't think people understand, when you die, it's not like it's going to be a colored section or a white section or a Hispanic section in heaven. You know what I'm saying? So if you believe that, then you're wasting your time and throw your religion in the trash. I mean, God made us all. So I don't understand that. I say it all the time. How can you say you love God who you never seen and you hate your brother who you see every day? But Alvin Kamara, he is a person that's a topic of discussion this offseason, also in dealings with his contract. And there's still no answers about his contract. Now, we don't know what Alvin Kamara is going to do. We don't know if he's going to show up to training camp. We don't know if he's going to, end up holding out. There's no sign to indicate that he won't. That he will, I should say, because he's been taking part in all virtual activities of the team. He's been showing up anytime the team has been having like these little meetings. So that's a plus. But Alvin Kamara seems like he's trying to emerge to being one of those guys that's in the NFL that wants to be one of those spoken leaders, the guys that speak up and talk about some of these issues. And I have to say, man, I'm proud of Alvin Kamara, not just what he does on the field, but also what he does off of the field as well. But if you have any questions or any concerns or anything like that, man, you can comment down below. We don't have to just talk about this particular subject. We can talk about anything other Saints news that you want to discuss. Shouts out to Dwayne giving a $1.99. Thank you very much, man, for your donation. Shouts out to Kirian on here. Devron, Tyrone, I be ripping them. He's here. And Joe. Thank y'all so much. And all those that have not checked out the last State of the Saints podcast video I put out on last night. And I apologize, folks, that I know I said I was going to go live on Sunday night, but I ended up getting back home a little bit later than I wanted, man, and I was just so tired. But I did want to give you all a video that you can all, talk about. The video is about linebacker Zach Bond, about how the coaching staff is really impressed at his progress, and also Janoris Jenkins, how will he impact the team this 2020 season. So if you have not checked out that video that I recently put out, it came out on last night, please feel free to check it out and leave a comment. I'm going to read some of these comments just to get us started. What's good, Who That Family? What's good with you, TJ? How you doing? I'm doing good, man. Thank you, Kirian. Doing good today. I'm happy to be here. Just ready just to talk about some New Orleans Saints news. You see, most of you guys really don't know what the initials for NASCAR stands for. Honestly, Dwayne, I ain't gonna even pretend like I do. If you know, please feel free to let us know, because I don't. I be ripping them says, I know what it is. I experience gas discrimination all the time. People are nice to me initially, but the moment I fart, they run away and call me names and stuff, and they'll try to get me fired. I be ripping them, man. You can't just be farting in people's direction, man. That's I don't think that's discrimination. I just think that people just don't want you farting on them, man. But thank you very much for your $2, man. What you think of my gas discrimination comment? Yeah, look, I don't think it's gas discrimination. I just think people don't want you farting on them. Saints had a bad offseason with the church cover up with Brees. Yeah, man, that was completely swept under the rug. We all know about the Catholic Church situation that happened with Gail Benson, but we all know that the NFL they do a really good job at trying to deflect things and sweeping things under the rug, which I feel like Gail Benson, as much as I respect her, as an owner, getting out of the way and allowing the coaching staff to run the team. I must say, I'm very embarrassed. I'm very embarrassed at the fact that Gail Benson put her money towards such a disrespectful and despicable cause. What those Catholic Church priests done to those young boys and all that stuff, man, is just absolutely ridiculous. Your son looked just like you, TJ. Yeah, man, that's what people tell me, man. They say that's my mini-me, man. I love my son to death, man. I still can't believe I'm a dad, but yeah, people say we look just alike, and So a lot of people, I feel like he looked like his mom more so than me. But y'all know how it is, man. When you have kids, you can't really see yourself or see like what other people see. So people like, oh, you look just like you, but the only thing I see is his mom, and the only thing that she see is me. So uh, yeah, man. So man, that's my guy though. That's my little man. Last week I farted while making a sale on a car. The prejudiced customer reported me to the boss. Yeah, man. I mean, that's gonna happen. Like I said, you can't fart on people. I'll be ripping them. You can't do it, man. You're gonna get in trouble. Okay. But let go ahead. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara a little bit more, man. Let's talk about his contract negotiations. I feel like he's going to end up getting a contract. I don't know if he's going to show up to training camp. I feel like this is going to be a great opportunity for some of these other running backs like Dwayne Washington to step up and possibly, change the way the Saints feel about him. Now I know Dwayne Washington played mostly on special teams last year, but I feel like when he was in the game, and I know some people gonna argue and say, man, it was garbage time. But Dwayne Washington really ran well. I just don't understand like why Sean Payton don't use Dwayne Washington. I just don't. I don't understand it. Like even if you use him maybe 2 or 3 times a game, like I don't understand why you don't use him. Like he runs really hard. He has really good field vision, and I just don't get it. I don't. So hopefully, like if Alvin Kamara is to hold out, Dwayne Washington can step up and really do his part. So I'm interested to see if this is going to benefit him. And also, like some of these other young running backs that can possibly come in, and get a start. I don't want to say a starting job, but also kind of improve their stock. If they don't end up getting signed by the Saints, they can get signed by other teams. I mean, you're not just going to training camp and going to preseason for just to make the Saints team. Sometimes, the organization can be stacked at a certain position. And by you going out there and performing, another team might look at your tape and be like, man, I think we need to take a look at this guy. So this would be a great opportunity for a lot of guys. The Saints need to re-up on Kamara, Lattimore, and Ramczyk contract ASAP. Yeah, I agree with that. But, I mean, Ramczyk and Lattimore, the Saints gave them their fifth-year option. So I just think that they gave them the fifth-year option so they can, negotiate contracts. Teams that give their players fifth-year options, that means that they're going to sign them. So I have never seen, I have to think, I don't think I ever seen a team pick up a player's fifth-year option and then sign them to a long-term deal. So you have to believe that Lattimore and Ramczyk are going to be the guys. I feel like Marcus Williams probably going to be the odd man out, in my honest opinion. I feel like Marcus Williams, I'll be surprised if he end up staying with the Saints long term. They're going to really have to work some things out with Marcus Williams because if you think about Kamara contract, you think about Ramczyk contract, you think about Lattimore contract. I mean, where is Marcus Williams going to go? Now, all this is completely thrown out if Drew Brees retired, because if Drew Brees retired, that's a lot of money that the Saints can have back into their salary. So that might be beneficial to them because, Drew Brees, I mean, we know Drew Brees gets about $24 million, and he takes up a huge chunk of the salary cap. So once you don't have to deal with the elite franchise quarterback salaries anymore, you can find room to pay these other guys. So, I mean, it's not out of the woods yet, but if Drew Brees decides that he wants to come back next year, I think that Marcus Williams most likely going to be a cap casualty. So, because I feel like out of all those guys, he's the most expendable. I mean, you can easily put C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the safety position, or you can put like Malcolm Jenkins, who signed a 3-year deal with the Saints, in that position until you develop another safety that can come and take his spot. So might be Marcus Williams being the odd man out. He better have one hell of a season in order for him to like really not be in that conversation. People like Marcus Williams. I'm one of those people that like him. I think he's a ball hawk. I think he's very instinctive. I think he has really good skills, but he leaves a lot to be desired, man. It's kind of the same situation with Von Bell. Von Bell had a lot of good qualities, but Von Bell didn't really show you that enough, and he wasn't where you needed him to be all the time. So That was the reason why he's no longer with the Saints. He's playing for Cincinnati right now. We wish him the best, but that's just what it is, man. You got to show up and show out. Okay, you can't leave nothing on the field. Okay, you got to leave it all on the field. You know what I'm saying? For them to go out there and say, "Hey, man, we got to pay this guy. This guy has to be very important to the success of our team going forward." So Marcus Williams hasn't reached that level yet. I still think the Saints are waiting for him to turn that corner, and hopefully Malcolm Jenkins can help him reach his full potential. While talking about Alvin Kamara, the question is his value. I personally believe he's worth 12 to 13 million a year, but what do you think? Well, this is what I think, Devin. I feel like Alvin Kamara is a great asset to a team. And I think sometimes like we take players like him for granted because we feel like he does it at a high level, and we see the Saints pushing the ball down the field, and we feel like, where anybody can do what Alvin Kamara does. We seen this with Reggie Bush, we seen it with Darren Sproles, we seen it in little small doses with Tavares Cadet. But I just have to say, Alvin Kamara is a very special player, and he doesn't grow on trees. I think that what the Saints do with him, I feel like the way that they can line him up in different multiple positions, and he can run between the tackles, I think that he is a valuable asset to the team. Now, I do agree with you around the 12 to 13 million dollar mark. I don't think you need to be talking about 15, 16 million dollars a year. I think that's a little bit much, but I do feel like he deserves a nice contract and be, up there with the Christian McCaffreys and stuff like that. Because even though Christian McCaffrey is an every down back, Alvin Kamara does some of the same things when it comes to the passing game than Christian McCaffrey does. But I don't think he needs to be paid more than Christian McCaffrey because Christian McCaffrey is an every down back. No way, no running back in the league is worth more than 10 million a season. I disagree with that, Dwayne. It all depends on the team. Like for example, you may say that let's just say Alvin Kamara might not be worth that because the Saints are a pass first team, but when you look at the Tennessee Titans, you have to say that Derrick Henry is worth way more than $10 million. The fact that Derrick Henry is very important to them. Their running attack is their bread and butter, and so it all depends on the situation. It all depends on the team, the offensive strategy. $10 million, I feel like Derrick Henry deserves way more than that. But when it comes to like some of those other players that play running backs in a pass-driven offense, probably you can make an argument for that. But it depends on the running back. They have to be open-minded with Jameis Winston. If he shows out, he could cost a lot of money. That will lead to possible cap casualties in the future. It's a good problem to have, but still a problem. Look, check this out, Mike. I don't think it'll be an issue going into next season. I don't feel like Jameis Winston is going to get a whole bunch of money. The only way that you can make an argument for that, and like I said, it happened with the New Orleans Saints, and it was one of those things that were just misfortunate. It was the fact that Drew Brees, for the first time in his entire career with the New Orleans Saints, missed multiple games. And I really feel like the Saints were going to sit on Teddy Bridgewater and give him probably similar to a contract they gave Taysom Hill. I mean, that's just what it is. That's what I thought. But the fact that Teddy Bridgewater ended up coming into the game, playing 5 games, winning all the games, teams had a good look at him, and a lot of people saw that he was moving around and his ankle is straight and he doesn't have like any effects from the injury that he sustained over 2 years ago. I think that just gave teams the opportunity to sign him. With Jameis Winston, if the Saints don't play him at all this season, he just a straight up backup. And I mean, it was just unfortunate. It was just unfortunate the way that Drew Brees hurt his thumb on the helmet of Aaron Donald. Like Drew Brees is not going to be one of those quarterbacks that get hurt every year. I mean, contrary to popular belief, it was just a thumb injury. It wasn't a knee. It wasn't an ankle. It wasn't a shoulder. It was a thumb. So he missed the games. He missed those games, and Teddy Bridgewater went in. So I don't feel like Drew Brees is going to miss any games this season. I don't. And I don't feel like you're going to see Jameis Winston play. So if you don't see Jameis Winston play, you can easily just say that he's not going to end up getting any contracts that's worth over $25-30 million if the Saints have to sign him. They can sign him to a middle of the pack contract, and if he goes out there and he plays well, let's just say if they sign him to a 2-year deal and he goes out there after Drew Brees retires, he beats out Taysom Hill and he plays really well, then you can renegotiate your contract after 2 years. But they didn't have that luxury when it came to Teddy Bridgewater. I feel like they were going to do that to him if he wouldn't have played at all. But the fact that he played himself into like some really good money, it kind of left the Saints behind the 8 ball. But I just feel like Jameis Winston, he is going to get another opportunity in the NFL. I think that he's going to be a starter once again. I think a lot of people like Jameis Winston and what he actually brings to the table as far as being a quarterback. They just don't like how he just turns the ball over at an alarming rate. That's going to get you sitting on the bench for a long time, man. No matter how much arm talent you have, no matter what your position was in the draft, if you're around here throwing the ball around and throwing interceptions here and there, I mean, it is going to be rough for you throughout your career. But I feel like the Saints, the way that they play, they throw like a lot of close intermediate routes. You could even, argue and say that the Saints even did that with Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, they weren't going out there throwing bombs away. People were real critical of them throwing the ball down the field when Teddy Bridgewater was the quarterback. We didn't see Teddy Bridgewater throw the ball down the field until, like, I think they may have played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he ended up throwing 4 touchdowns in that game. That was like the only time where we really saw Teddy Bridgewater throw the ball down the field. So you have to believe that Jameis Winston is going to play the type of quarterback, throw the football kind of similar to what Drew Brees and what Teddy Bridgewater was doing. And they're probably going to rely on the running game if he ever get the opportunity to be the Saints quarterback. And I have to say this, man. I got to give Jameis a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here. Jameis Winston never really had a running game at all. I don't think Jameis Winston ever had a running game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just don't get it. I don't know why Tampa just didn't never have a running back. They never had a guy that was good enough behind Jameis Winston that can kind of relieve some of the pressure off of him. So I feel like the fact that the Saints actually have a running game, it might be able to help Jameis in certain ways. I just think that when teams know that you don't have a running back, and they know that you're going to be throwing the ball all over the place, the defense is kind of pin their ears back and kind of rush the quarterback because they know that most likely you're not going to run the football. So I will say that Jameis never had a really decent running game throughout his career. So I think that kind of hurt him as well. Any new rumors on Clowney picking a destination? I know how you feel, and I'm with you. Word is he's looking for a ring and 1-year deal to boost his stock for next season. I haven't heard anything on Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, I'll look it up right now. But as far as anything about him and finding a new home, I'm not sure. The last thing we really heard was the Browns would. This is according to CBS Sports. The Browns willing to pay Jadeveon Clowney $15 million in a 1-year contract deal. And, of course, we already know that Jadeveon Clowney did not want to go to the Cleveland Browns. It seemed like to me he wants to go to a contender. I haven't heard anything else besides that. Every news story that I'm looking at on the screen here has something to do with him and the Browns contract deal. So I don't know, man. Jadeveon Clowney, I don't think that he's going to end up going to the Browns. He already said no to him. Right now, teams are just starting to get back. I think coaches and coaching staff are now back at the facility, so maybe they can be able to finally sign him to a deal. It seems like Jadeveon Clowney is trying to be one of those NFL mercenaries this year. He understands that there's a lot of unanswered questions about him, especially with his health. Teams don't want to sign him to a long-term deal, giving him a big contract and then he goes out there and gets hurt like he always does. So he's probably going to have to go on a prove-it contract. So he has to go out and play for a 1 year with a 1 year deal. He's going to have to do that. But I don't know if the Saints are still thinking about getting him. I said weeks before we signed Jameis Winston, we all debate who would we rather have, him or Cam. I said Jameis all day or Cam. Well, look, man, Cam Newton, I mean, he looked good throwing the football to OBJ. And I feel like the year that he set out to get his body back into shape kind of helped him. And not to mention, he had shoulder surgery as well. I don't think people are looking at Cam Newton as damaged goods. I think they just looking at Cam Newton as a guy that has been injured, and we have no way of doing any physicals on him. We can't get our doctors to take a look at him because everybody practicing social distancing and stuff like that. So, and you're not going to count on these players to go out here and get their own doctor. I mean, everybody is not like Tom Brady, okay? Like Tom Brady went to New York and he got a physical from a doctor that he selected, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended up signing him off of the advice of that doctor. So, but it's Tom freaking Brady, for God's sake, 6-time Super Bowl winning champion. You know what I'm saying? Like Super Bowl MVP, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. So who gonna say no to him? I mean, Tom Brady at 75-80% is probably better than some of these quarterbacks at 100%. So. Everybody is not going to get the benefit of the doubt. So these teams want to be able to look at some of these guys before they make a commitment to them. And with Cam Newton, I mean, you have a shoulder injury. I mean, you're a quarterback with a shoulder injury. You definitely want to look at this guy and evaluate him. Now, me personally, I don't think that he's going to be a starter on nobody's team, or he's not going to start out being a starter. But I'm really looking to see if he's going to end up getting signed maybe by the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins, I know they got Kyle Allen from the Carolina Panthers, but I'm not really sold on Dwayne Haskins as a starting quarterback. I know a lot of people in Redskin Nation, they don't really like his work ethic. So I can really see somebody like Cam Newton coming in and being a starting quarterback of the Washington Redskins. I mean, you already know that him and the head coach, Ron Rivera, they have a chemistry together. I mean, they've been with each other as long as Cam's been in the league. So in my honest and humble opinion, I feel like he would be a good fit for the Washington Redskins, where if Dwayne Haskins don't work out, Cam can possibly go up there and be the next in line. Another team that I feel like he would be really beneficial to him as far as like being a backup quarterback, ironically, would be the Atlanta Falcons. I can see him being a backup quarterback to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan isn't a guy that always gets hurt, but he has had a couple injuries over the past couple of years. And a lot of people from the Atlanta Falcons organization are a little bit frustrated with Matt Ryan and why he can't get the team over the hump. So that would be interesting. I mean, Cam Newton going back home to Atlanta and being a backup quarterback. And a lot of people in Atlanta are going to support him. So that would be an interesting spot for him as well. And last but not least, a spot that I feel like he would do well is New England. New England, they have Jarrett Stidham right now. I know that Belichick is one of those guys that want to be like, man, watch this, watch what I do with this guy named Stidham. But if you can get a guy like Cam Newton to come to your organization, you automatically, instantly become a playoff contender. And Bill Belichick is going to come up with the right strategies in order for his team to be successful. So those are the three landing spots I can see Cam Newton. Cam Newton hasn't been signed, in my opinion. Once again, it's because of COVID-19. It has absolutely nothing to do with him not being able to play the quarterback position. Jerry, what's going on, man? You made 36 Sunday, man. Happy birthday to you. Your birthday is the same day as my brother's. My brother's birthday was on Sunday, man. Shouts out to my brother Sam, celebrating his 35th birthday. Man, that boy getting old, you know what I'm saying? But I'm a year behind him, so I'm getting old myself. So happy birthday to him. Happy birthday to you also, Jerry, man. I hope you enjoyed your day. Sorry I'm late, had running to do, but never too late. Yeah, never too late, Jerry, man. Shouts out to Jerry, always on the live, man, and always commenting, man. Thank you so much, brother. Inevitable expertise says, yo, TJ, when we gonna do that all-time sucky cornerback bracket? You know what? I'm gonna have to really sit down. I'm gonna get it together, man. I know it was a lot of things going on. I mean, I know we were supposed to do it like around the time of March Madness, but then the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden, man, just news just got straight up dry, and man, I was trying to figure things out when it comes to like the radio station and everything like that. So yeah, we're gonna definitely try to get it started, man. We already did like the top 5 worst Saints free agents in NFL history. That was fun. We did that, I think, on Saturday. I enjoyed doing that, man. So we definitely gonna get that terrible cornerback bracket going. So probably gonna get it done pretty soon, but be on the lookout for it. When I sit down and I evaluate and look at all the cornerbacks, and I'm probably gonna bring some people in that that are good. Talking about the New Orleans Saints just to kind of help me out with that. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna come, man. It's coming. Like I'm probably really gonna sit down probably in the next couple of days or probably within a week and try to figure that thing out and how I'm gonna do it. Let's see. Cam can't hit the side of a barn as of lately, but we'll never know. You know what I mean, Dwayne? That's because he was injured. He was injured, man, and he wasn't healthy. I feel like he came back too fast from that shoulder injury. He trying to rush himself back, and he put himself behind the 8 ball. I understand that this is the NFL. I understand that it's what have you done for me lately. I understand out of sight, out of mind. But you have to look out for yourself, man. If it calls for you to have to miss an entire season in order for you to get back to where you need to be, then so be it. I mean, we seen it with Peyton Manning. I understand Peyton Manning was going through a neck injury, and Cam Newton is with a shoulder injury. But Peyton, took the whole season off. You know what I'm saying? Get himself together, rehabilitated himself, and he got back out there. I feel like with Cam, man, I don't know if it was the fact that he had Kyle Allen backing him up or some other deal, but I feel like he kind of rushed himself back after surgery, trying to play, and it cost him, man. And honestly, now people got that bad taste in their mouth about, Cam Newton not being what he used to be. So hopefully, man, this year and a half that he took off can help him. And I think that he will end up being a starting quarterback in the league again. And I like Cam Newton, man. I ain't got nothing against him. I root for him. I just don't want him to beat the Saints. I'm always rooting for, guys, that a lot of people didn't think that they were going to be all they cracked up to be, but, they end up, exceeding expectations. And as much as you may not like Cam Newton, a lot of people think that he a crybaby, and then definitely don't like his sense of fashion. But one thing that you can say, man, he is a gamer. He a warrior. You know what I'm saying? He's been that way since he was at Auburn, and he has crushed the hearts of a lot of people in the Who Dat Nation. Shoot, man, Cam Newton is really good, and I want to see him finish his career on his terms and not, having his career fate decided for him. If I was Cloudy, I would have wanted to go to Cleveland. Either historically speaking, careers died there's other than Jim Brown. Look, I feel like this. I don't think I would have went to Cleveland. I kind of 100% agree with you on that one. I agree with the fact that it is a historical franchise, but I disagree with the fact that he need to go to Cleveland. Look, man, Cleveland is a train wreck. Jimmy Haslett, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, has absolutely no patience when it comes to coaches. He don't give his coaches an opportunity to develop and also make the team better. It's like a revolving door. And I wouldn't want to play for him either until they show me that they can actually generate some success. I don't want to be wasting my career. I just think about the great offensive tackle Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas played all those years for the Cleveland Browns, never made the playoffs. As good as that guy's been. And I think people can argue and say that, man, he most likely going to end up in the Hall of Fame. But he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, most likely because he played for the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland is an embarrassment. I'm sorry, man, to all my Cleveland Brown fans out there, but they're pathetic, man. I mean, there's no way in the world you have that much talent and ain't sniffing the playoffs. I mean, you got Jarvis Landry, you got Odell Beckham Jr., you got Greedy Williams, you got Denzel Ward. I mean, you got Olivier Vernon, you got Myles Garrett. I mean, an embarrassment of riches. And these guys can't sniff the playoffs. Are you kidding me? And you got Kareem Hunt. I mean, come on, man. Like, I mean, who? I mean, what? Bradley Chubb too? I mean, not Nick Chubb. Excuse me. You got Nick Chubb. You got all of these guys on your squad, and you can't sniff the playoffs. Like, shame on you. Can you, man? Come on, man. Like, seriously. I understand that Baker Mayfield is young, but all that talent on your team, man. I mean, you got Njoku at the tight end position. I mean, they have an embarrassment of riches. And not to mention, they got $36 million in cap space remaining. And you still got all this talent on your team. That's pathetic, man. I wouldn't want to play for them either. I'm sorry, man. Like, man, nah, I couldn't play for Cleveland. That's sad. Like, me just think about the talent that these guys have on that team. Think about it. All that talent, man. Browns have all those players, but still can't. Yep. They still got a losing culture. I can't explain it. I can't. I cannot explain it. Man, I mean, they have so much talent on that team. Like, it is so talented, and they just cannot get over the hump. I don't know why. I just don't know why. If you gave the Saints that type of talent, I think the Saints, you know what I'm saying? I know the Saints are talented, but if you gave them some of those names offensively, man, the Saints would be undefeated. I mean, it's just embarrassing the way that those guys have all that talent and can't do nothing with it. But speaking of talent, man, I talked about Janoris Jenkins on last night. I want y'all to check that out. I talked about Janoris Jenkins and his impact with the New Orleans Saints. I feel like Janoris Jenkins is a really good cornerback, and I think that the Saints really found something with him. So check out that video, man, that I did on last night focusing on Janoris Jenkins. That's because the head coach and the coaching staff is key to success. Talent has to be harnessed in the roles that fit like cogs. I agree. It is a team sport, football. You know, I was looking at Undisputed this morning, and Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless said something very interesting. He said the NFL is team-driven. NBA is star-driven, and that's true, man. Like, I don't care how good your quarterback is. If you don't have offensive line that can block, if you don't have receivers that can catch the ball, they ain't going nowhere. If you got a good receiver, if you don't have a quarterback delivering you the football, you ain't going nowhere. So I 100% agree with that. And, you know, you got to have chemistry, man. You got to have team. You got to have teamwork. You can't have guys that are just me guys. You got to have some we guys out there. And I just feel like some of those guys from Cleveland are in business for themselves. I mean, most of the guys that go there, I mean, they're already comfortable. They're living like a fat rat at a cheese factory. You know, like they already go there, be having those big contracts over $100 million and stuff. And it takes a special type of player, man, to wake up in the morning and have $100 million in his bank account and still go out there and perform at a high level, especially when you know that you play for a team that's struggling and the culture is losing. So if you know, they gotta get it together, man, and hopefully one day they will. Man, I just ate lunch. Give me about 40 minutes and I'll take the Browns to the it's probably the only way they're gonna go to the Super Bowl, Joe. That's the only way they're gonna go. But yeah, it's just sad, man. It's just sad to watch this. But I'm just glad our New Orleans Saints aren't in that same category, man. I still think the Saints are going to win this division. There was an article that came out to say, can the Saints four-peat this division? I really feel like they can. I feel like it's going to be tough this season because now teams are really stacked up in the NFC South. And I feel like this is going to be one of those divisions that beat up on each other. I feel like it's going to be the best division in football, of course. I mean, when you have two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in the same division, trust and believe it's going to be a very tough knockout, drag out type games when it comes to Tampa and the Saints, and even with Carolina, man. I know I seen this guy predicted that Carolina gonna go 4-12 this season. I do not believe that. I don't believe that they're gonna go in 4-12. I think they're gonna shock a lot of people. I think that Carolina is gonna be better than people giving them credit for. And with the Atlanta Falcons, I feel like they're going to be okay. I don't think that they're going to just be sorry, but I do think they're going to be last in the division. But the Saints, they just got a lot of work to do, man. And it all depends on what they want to bring to the table. It depends on how tough they want to be this season. They need to kind of, get a little bit more physical defensively, in my opinion. I like the fact that now you have Janoris Jenkins and you got Marshawn Lattimore and you got Malcolm Jenkins and Marcus Williams in the secondary along with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I like the secondary. I'm still a little bit on the fence when it comes to the nickel corners, but I think that the Saints can win the division, and they definitely got to make sure that the guys up front stay healthy so they can generate a really good pass rush, and also, to try to get the ball out of the quarterback hands, real quick where he can actually force get a turnover. They can get interceptions. They can force fumbles, stuff like that, man. So they definitely got to step it up. I know once I get done playing college football, and hopefully I get drafted, but I would put the Eli, if the Browns could, I'd love to play for the Saints. Yeah, man. I mean, look, I put it like this, the Cleveland Browns, man, I just don't understand them. I just don't. I just don't understand them. But I feel like the Saints collectively over the last couple of years, they do really good in the draft. And, man, good luck to you, man. You say, you playing college football, Devon, like, good luck to you, man. Hopefully, we hear your name and, we hear you getting drafted and stuff like that, man, where we can talk about you, so, man, I'm rooting for you, my man. But if you end up playing for the Cleveland Browns, all that ain't bad, man. At least you in the NFL. Like a lot of people wish they could have those opportunities to play on the next level. So it don't matter what team they play for. The fact that you hear your name called, or even if you don't hear your name called, you get an opportunity to be in the NFL draft, become an undrafted free agent. It's a plus. P.J. Williams is our biggest red flag. It all depends, man. I just feel like the Saints need to stop playing and put P.J. Williams at the safety position because P.J. Williams is a much better tackler than we give him credit for. And they put C.J. Gardner-Johnson, maybe they can switch them out or something like that. You can put C.J. Gardner-Johnson as a nickel and put P.J. Williams as a safety. So, I mean, when he played safety when Marcus Williams was out and when Von Bell was out, he did a really good job. Oh, yeah, and I can't forget about DJ Swearinger, too, man. I know he get kind of he flies under the radar, but DJ Swearinger, pending injury, he's a really good safety, too, and a good ball hawk. You can even ask Drew Brees. I mean, Drew Brees, that's kind of like his kryptonite. I think the first person is Debo Jones, and the second one would be DJ Swearinger. Anytime DJ Swearinger play against the Saints, he always gets an interception off Drew Brees. So Swearinger, when he's healthy, man, he's a hard hitter and he's a ball hawk, and he has really good skills, man. So and he's not afraid to lower the boom on people. Mike, what's going on, man? Thank you for joining the live. Thank you so much. But they have some really good players in the secondary this season, man. They got some guys that's really physical, man, not afraid to go out there and hit somebody, which I can appreciate. I really can. Let's see if we got some more Saints news that came out since we started the live. A lot of stuff has something to do. Okay, 2020 New Orleans Saints opponent profiles. They're profiling the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's on New Orleans Saints website. And also they're talking about 3 potential replacements for Alvin Kamara. This is if Alvin Kamara doesn't sign with the Saints. Let's see the 3 replacements that they have here. The number three is Ty Gurley. They said Ty Gurley isn't done being decent at football. Yes, 2 years after a signing a $60 million contract with the Rams, his production fell swiftly. These things will happen. Gurley still should have plenty of money left over, but a 1 year, $5 million prove-it deal with Atlanta should be all the motivation he needs to get his football act together. So they have number three on the list is Ty Gurley. Ty Gurley only signed a 1 year contract with the Falcons, but I honestly feel like Ty Gurley feels at home playing for the Falcons. I mean, of course, he's from Georgia. So anytime you can play in front of your hometown crowd, home state crowd, is always a plus. So they're saying if Alvin Kamara doesn't pan out, the Saints don't sign him back, you can always sign Ty Gurley, which, I mean, that's not a bad idea. I mean, but I just feel like you're probably going to be asking for more money, trying to sign somebody like Ty Gurley, because I think we all can agree that if we're talking about every down backs, Ty Gurley is one of those guys, even though he kind of fell off. Number two is Kenyon Drake. As you all know, Kenyon Drake started his career. He started in Miami, ended up getting traded to the Cardinals. And, he's had some really good games, in Arizona. I don't know why Arizona don't want to commit to the guy. I just don't get it. I feel like he's a really good, really, really good running back. And the fact that they don't want to give him an opportunity, I think is sad. I think he will do well in the Saints uniform, but I wouldn't look forward to doing that. As much as I like Kenyon Drake, I don't think he's going to end up being with the Saints, and I think that another team might pick him up. The fact that he's so young and he has so much promise. And number one is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, of course, we know he played for the Cincinnati Bengals, came out of Oklahoma. And all he has done is be one of the best young running backs in the league. Look, we all know that the Cincinnati Bengals don't like to give up players, especially players that contribute. We see what they have done to A.J. Green. They have basically stuck him in purgatory. We seen what they did with Carson Palmer. Carson basically had to retire in order for them to relinquish his contract, in order for him to get out of there so he can go to Oakland. So, I mean, well, not Oakland, I think Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. No. Oakland. He went to Oakland right after he ended up going to Cincinnati. So I don't feel like Joe Mixon is even going to get out of Cincinnati, because we all know that they just like signing guys. And I don't know if they just do that out of spite, or they just, feel like these guys, are selling tickets, and we're going to try to make sure that these guys stay with the team forever and ever and ever. Forever, amen. I don't know. But I don't see Joe Mixon leaving the Cincinnati Bengals, because the Brown family are very cheap and they're very selfish too. How much concern is the linebacker depth? I don't have a concern with the linebacker depth. I think that as long as these guys stay healthy, I don't feel like it's going to be an issue, but you also have a good rotation. And I feel like you haven't seen enough of these young guys yet for us to be panicking. I mean, I understand that we want guys that we know. We want some veterans, the guys that we actually seen play. But, I mean, I don't have no problem with young linebackers. I mean, I think the young combination with the older veteran linebackers, I think the Saints have a good nucleus, a good combination of veteran and young linebackers. Young linebackers that can learn from veterans, and veterans that can depend on some of these young players that's coming in who have really good ball instincts and are really students of the game. So let me see. I'm back. Just got home, man. Shouts out to Jared, man. Glad you made it home safely. But those are the three running backs that they saying that could replace Alvin Kamara. If it was my choice, I wouldn't choose none of those guys. I'm not the fact that I'm not a fan of these guys. I watched all these guys play in college, and even, been watching their career so far, but I wouldn't trade Alvin Kamara for none of those guys. I watched the NFL Network Saturday night. This guy, Kyle Brandt, was wearing a Tampa Bay Tom Brady jersey. Sad to see. Well, I mean, people just love Tom Brady, man. They love him. Like Tom Brady is one of those guys that everybody just loves. Rather you love to see him lose, or you love just to see him win all those Super Bowls, man. I mean, I can't knock him, man. I mean, they're fans. And what Tom Brady has done over his career, I mean, you can't just You can't just poo-poo it, man. I mean, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So he's probably a fan, man. He grew up as a fan. I think Kay Adams is a Saints fan. You know what I'm saying? She loves the Saints, even though she grew up in Chicago. She's the host of Good Morning Football. So, I mean, they fans. They talk about the game, but they're fans at the end of the day. Kind of similar to me. Like I talk about the team, but at the end of the day, I'm a Saints fan. Iceman T said, let's address this now. Is Tom better than Drew? Let's settle this debate. In my honest opinion, yeah, he is. I feel like he is better than Drew Brees. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably going to get upset with me for saying that, but it's the truth. I mean, you can't argue with 6 Super Bowls. You can't argue with the comebacks. And also, I have to say what gives him the knock over Drew Brees is the fact that he has taken several for his team. Okay, the fact that the New England Patriots have opportunities to go out here and get players around him in order for him to win Super Bowls, like Akeem Talib and Brandon Browner, believe it or not, and one of the McCourty brothers, and also to get like some of these other young defensive ends that can come in. You go out there and you get Stephon Gilmore. He was able to take one for the team. He wasn't out here asking for max money. He wasn't around here, getting his team set back because they having offensive line issues. Tom Brady has made less money throughout his career, way less money than he deserved, all in the name of becoming a champion. We didn't get that from Drew Brees. And maybe if Drew Brees would have done that, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation, but I will say this, one thing I wonder, would Tom Brady would have done that if he wasn't married to Giselle? I mean, Giselle is worth about $500 million. So, I mean, honestly, is he really hurting for money? Probably, 9 times out of 10, he is not. So, I mean, Brittany Brees, beautiful lady, but, she's a stay-at-home mom. She's not out here making cake and guap to a point where Drew Brees can take all these different pay cuts. So, but I do feel like if you want to talk about who's better, I got to get a knock to Tom Brady. Now, statistics will show that Drew Brees is better than Tom Brady statistically. But when it comes to championships and what people are really evaluated on these days, you have to say Tom Brady is better. Now, if we're looking at it from an accuracy standpoint, Drew Brees is more accurate. If you're looking at it from a yard standpoint, Drew Brees is better. If you're looking at it from being clutch, performing in the playoffs, you got to give it to Tom Brady. I mean, sorry, but we have to be realistic about this. But TJ, Drew has all the passing stats. How is Tom better when Drew is the most statistically dominant? Well, you can make an argument about this, Iceman. You can look at the fact of how Bill Belichick actually plays the game of football and how he coaches and how he strategizes. There are some games where the New England Patriots will run the football 30, 35 times a game. And then there are games where Tom Brady would actually have to throw the ball because they're probably going up against a team that sucks in the secondary. They probably don't have a really good passing defense. So the way that I look at it, Bill Belichick can be one of those reasons why Tom Brady doesn't have all the statistical records. I mean, the way that the Saints actually throw the ball all over the place, Drew Brees throughout the years was averaging about 35 passes per game. And not to mention the Saints defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. So the Saints, had to pass the ball in order for them to stay in games. You have to say that, man. I'll give you another example, right? Let's look at Ken Anderson. For those that don't know who Ken Anderson is, Ken Anderson was a quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals during the 70s. Ken Anderson had like all the statistical records, even like completion percentages. You know what I'm saying? He had like all the records. He was the 70s version of Drew Brees. But he played in the same era as Roger Staubach, as Terry Bradshaw, and some of these other quarterbacks out there, Ken Stabler. So he used to kind of get swept under the rug, dude. So a lot of people don't even really mention Ken Anderson. It's kind of like the same way with Drew Brees. Drew Brees has like all the statistical records, but people give the knock, you know what I'm saying? They'll get the notch to Tom Brady and Peyton Manning before they even get to Drew Brees. And it has a lot to do with the fact that the Saints defense sucked all those years, the fact that the Saints missed all those playoffs. And like I said, I just feel like Drew Brees took a lot of money from the New Orleans Saints organization over the years, where they could have had opportunities to go get offensive linemen that can protect him and also a running game and a decent defense. But it hurt him, you know. But I mean, he does have his place in history as the most accurate and all-time leading passer. But I have to say, you know, I can't just fake it and just say, oh man, just because I'm the host of the State of the Saints podcast and we love our Saints, that I gotta lie and say I don't think that Tom Brady is a little bit better. Do you like Keith Washington? Yeah. Actually, I do like Keith Washington. I can see him playing in a nickel. I see him playing in a nickel. He still needs to grow a little bit, man. I watched a little bit of his tape, Josh. He needs some work, man. He got some work that needs to get done, man. He's not a first day starter to me. His technique a little bit off in my opinion, but I feel like if he can get into the training camp, he can work with the secondary. Maybe he can be a part of that rotation, but I don't know, man. He's tall, he's lengthy, in my opinion. But the only thing about that I see, man, is his technique. I see a lot of plays on the field that he had, man. That he was losing some of those hand fighting battles. So hopefully he can get a little bit stronger and a little bit more physical. And I feel like then he'll be a part of this rotation. But I don't think that he'll be the answer right now. If I had to choose out of P.J. Williams, believe it or not, or Patrick Robinson, I wouldn't let him start over them. He has he has some issues that he has to work out, like for real. Like I watched a couple games, a couple of games that he had, and man, the wide receivers were getting the best of him. Now I understand I think he played in the Big 12, and that's a passing type, conference or whatever like that. But his technique, he needs a lot of work. I mean, that's just what I'm saying. But I feel like, it's not like so horrible to a point where, he can't sit down and get some mental reps and also get some guys to work with him and maybe, start out on special teams and transition to the field. But it's going to take him some time, man. Do you think Drew lacks scramble and deep pass ability stalls the Saints offense in the playoffs? No, absolutely not. Me personally, I feel like Drew Brees being in the playoffs, he just a completely different beast, man. I don't know if he just outthinks himself or what, but if you being honest with yourself, Drew Brees has played horrible in the playoffs. Like he honestly, for the exception of the 2009 playoffs, Drew has never really performed really well in the playoffs. Like not to a point where you feel like, okay, the Saints should be dominant. The Saints should be dominant. They should be dominating these players. They should be dominating these teams. He hasn't done that, man. I think he shrinks, in big moments sometimes. I understand he won a Super Bowl and he tied the completion percentage. I mean, not completion percentage, but he had most completions before Tom Brady broke it a couple years back in the Super Bowl. But man, honestly, man, I just think that sometimes he gets like, I don't know if the moment just gets too bright for him, or maybe it's just the fact that, the playoff just kind of speeds up for him. And, teams put their best A game together. And you combine that with the fact that he's short, so they put their pass rushes up the middle so he can, put real true pressure on him. But I must say, man, Drew Brees for the last couple of years, I mean, he hasn't played really well in the playoffs. And I do feel like maybe if they were different, maybe if they had a quarterback that had a better arm or a quarterback that could have scrambled, they probably would have got out the round. But I just feel like Drew Brees leaves a lot to be desired in the postseason. And if you're thinking about this objectively, I think you would probably come to that same conclusion. But I mean, he has brought us back in some of those games. One game in particular was the Minnesota Vikings divisional game. I mean, he did step it up, man, in that second half and brought the team back. You know, him along with Michael Thomas, and he threw that fade pass to Alvin Kamara to actually give the Saints the go-ahead lead before the Minneapolis Miracle happened. So he's done some good things, but you would think that a player on the level of Drew Brees, being an elite quarterback, we shouldn't have these problems. They should be easy, or you know what I'm saying, it shouldn't be as hard as they make it out to be. What do the Saints need to see from PJ Williams? Well, the Saints need to see PJ Williams be able to cover a little bit better. But me personally, I feel like we already done seen everything we gonna see out of PJ Williams. PJ Williams is not going to come into the league, to come into this season, and all of a sudden just channel his inner Richard Sherman or Darrell Reeves. PJ Williams is PJ Williams. PJ Williams is a good tackler. PJ Williams is a physical corner, but he does not have good recovery skills. He is not really fast, and that's the reason why I feel like the Saints should just put him at the safety position. I feel like if he was at safety, he can play the backfield. He don't have to worry about having recovery speed, because that way all he had to do is just worry about, what's going on the back end. So I feel like that kind of saved his career. And not to mention, safety's got to be a little bit better tacklers, than cornerback. So I just feel like what you see out of PJ Williams is what you get. And the only thing that they can do to possibly save his career is maybe move him to safety. Most people don't talk about that 2-interception game in Philly back in 2011. I think he has a history of bad moments when it matters most. Should we be concerned? Nah, man. I mean, we shouldn't be concerned. I mean, Drew Brees' career is pretty much over, wrapped up anyway, man. Like, I feel like, Drew Brees is just, the story has already been written about Drew Brees. I mean, he's already going to go down in history as being an all-time great. And, there's nothing more that you can say about that. So I do feel like as long as Drew Brees is in a Saints uniform, they're going to be playoff contenders. But, I mean, I'll be lying to you to say that Drew Brees hasn't been one of the reasons why the Saints haven't advanced in the playoffs. Like I said, I know that we love Drew Brees. We don't like criticizing him, but, man, we have to get better quarterback play out of a guy that leads the NFL all time in all the statistical categories as a passer. So you can't just go out here and be a regular season quarterback throwing the ball all over the place and, getting Monday night football games and being a topic of conversation on Tuesday morning quarterbacks. And, all of a sudden when it's time to, really play and perform and get your team to, the next level as far as, the Super Bowl is concerned, and you go out there and you play horrible, you can't do that. Do you think Alvin Kamara could go down as one of the best running backs if we give him a chance? Yeah, I do feel like he can go down in history as being one of the best. I feel like he already has like all the skills that the new age running back is supposed to have and what coaches look for these days. It used to be back in the day that you had running backs, you wanted them to run between the tackles and you wanted them to carry about 3 or 4 dudes on their back before he goes down. But now, you have to have a running back, that's elusive, that can catch the ball out of the backfield and run between the tackles. Alvin Kamara checks all 3 of those boxes. So I feel like if the Saints committed to the run much better, and, and if they do it, more, I feel like he could be an all-time great. I feel like the Saints kind of cost somebody like Mark Ingram opportunity to be an all-time great. I feel like the numbers that Mark Ingram put up last year with the Baltimore Ravens, there's no excuse why he couldn't put that up with the Saints. I just feel like the Saints just never been committed to the run. And honestly, man, the fact that they weren't committed to the run kind of was a blessing in disguise to Mark Ingram, because Mark Ingram still has a lot more tread on the tires due to the fact that he went to a pass-first team and, they didn't run the ball all that time. So, honestly, Mark Ingram is 30. He'll be 31 in December, but he still probably got the shelf life of a 27, 28-year-old quarterback due to the lack of physical hits that he has taken over on the body over the years. Like, I feel like Derrick Henry body is probably going to wear down quicker than Mark Ingram's would, Because Mark Ingram, like now he's being, he's benefiting from not being able to not playing in a system that didn't run the ball. Now he in a system that runs the ball, and he's benefiting from it. So yeah, I mean it's a plus for him. But Alvin Kamara can be one of the best. Drew Brees played differently in a regular season than the playoffs. In the playoffs, he takes too many risks of challenges. He does not do that in a regular season. Yeah, I agree, man. A couple of them balls, like when he threw that, I don't know what the heck that was that he threw in the Minnesota game. It like it was a punt. I'm like, what is you doing? And then when he fumbled that football, man, oh man. I almost broke my webcam, man. I picked my webcam up and slammed it to the floor. I'm like, man, what is you thinking? Like, turn the ball over. I don't know, man. It's like, I don't know. It's like watching Space Jam or something like that. And it seemed like the Monstars come down in the playoffs and take Drew Brees' talent away from him. So, during the regular season, they don't show up. And then when the Monstars show up, maybe, Drew Brees touched the football and they took this talent on to Mormar Mountain or wherever the hell they came from, you know what I'm saying? And they use it for one pickup game out the year and then they bring it back or something. I don't know, but he needs to play better in the postseason. I tell you that. If the Saints fall short this season, is the Super Bowl window closed after this season? No, it's not. It's not closed at the end of the season because the Saints have a great combination of young players. They got veteran leadership, and I think you saw that, Iceman, when Drew Brees went down in those 5 games. So I'm very confident about the future of the New Orleans Saints. And I know a lot of people in the NFC South, they're looking forward to Drew Brees retiring. But I'm telling you, man, I don't think that the Saints are just going to fall off the cliff once number 9 is no longer playing for the team. All I know is Brees is 40. You don't improve with age. Father Time is undefeated. The running game is the most important thing on the Saints team. Yeah, but I mean they gotta use the running game, E. Like they gotta use it. While you up here, throwing a football all over the place, I mean your running game is suffering. So, man, hopefully, man, when Drew Brees retire, maybe they'll run a football because they have a young running back or something. That's the only thing that I look at, man. They sign all these run block offensive linemen, so I'm really feeling like the Saints are going to start being a runs first team, which was crazy because when Teddy Bridgewater was the quarterback, they were a run first team. TJ, do you like the way Thomas is going this season? I honestly don't like it. He's becoming too cocky and going to become another AB. I disagree with that. I just feel like I disagree with the fact about the whole Michael Thomas becoming an AB thing. I do. I just think that sometimes, man, we just want our wide receivers to be like Marcus Colston, and that's just not the case. This isn't the first time. Like Michael Thomas always been talking on Twitter. Like he's always talked on Twitter, and he's always talked noise. And the thing about it is, he's always backed it up. As long as he can go out there and back it up, I have no problem with that. We can talk about some of the comments that he made on Twitter, but a lot of the things that he's talking about has something to do with the world at large. He's one of those guys that actually helped create that commercial about the NFL and holding the NFL accountable and wanting NFL to focus on social justice. So he's done a lot of positive things, man, and I ain't got no problem with him. I ain't got no problem with him talking noise on social media because he's been talking noise on social media ever since. I don't know if y'all remember that whole controversy about him and Brandon Cooks or whatever, and was Brandon Cooks jealous of him and stuff like that because he was getting all the attention after he got drafted. So, I mean, he's really always just been that guy that's been talking. The only difference is now the whole world watches him. I mean, he's one of those guys, he had the whole Monica thing going, It was like, be quiet, Don't be surprised to see me coming. And now he's here, man. And like I say, he's always been like this. I just think people haven't been paying attention because he wasn't who he is right now. But I don't have a problem with that, man. As long as he go out there and he continues to catch the ball at a high rate, as long as he's mentioned as one of the best wide receivers in football, as long as he's putting up numbers to contribute to the success of the team, I ain't got no problem with that. Antonio Brown had a lot of problems off the field. I mean, dealing with, things that's going on at house, domestic violence, always getting in trouble, you know what I'm saying, being a locker room cancer, you know what I'm saying, like recording the team after games and stuff like that. You don't see Michael Thomas doing anything like that. You don't really see him. And honestly, man, you don't see him like out and about. You don't see him like acting all flashy and all that kind of stuff there. The man just, talks a little bit. That's the way that he gets up. And I got no problem with that. Tim, thank you very much for the $10 donation, man. It says, I don't blame Drew for that slant out that Thomas didn't catch during the NFC Championship game. They literally do that all the time, and it works. But that punt he threw, he was jealous of Taysom Moore. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what it was right there. I called that when it happened. That definitely was an ego throw. Taysom Hill threw that ball. Anybody that don't think that Drew Brees has an ego, look no further than that wild card game. And it was the fact that Taysom Hill was really getting all the attention. That honestly, and I feel, and a lot of people don't realize that. I didn't know this until maybe like a few weeks ago. Taysom Hill, when he ran that 23-yard run, when he broke off them tackles, and we were like, man, why didn't the Saints run the football right after? Why did Drew Brees fumble the football? Did you know that Sean Payton actually called the running play? It was supposed to be a handoff to Alvin Kamara, but Drew Brees audibled into a passing play, which caused the fumble that Everson Griffin did. So anybody that thinks that Drew Brees don't have an ego, anybody that thinks that Drew Brees doesn't pay attention, and the fact that Taysom Hill threw that 55-yard pass to Deontay Harris, and all of a sudden Drew wants to, come back in the game and say, watch this. Anybody that don't think that Drew Brees doesn't have ego, look no further than those two plays right there. I mean, he's seen the way the crowd was really getting into it, really getting behind Taysom. And the fact that they were supposed to run that football and he decided to audible out of it. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. That's a good point, though, Tim. Thank you very much for the $10. Could be possible that Michael Thomas is frustrated with the playoff losses and he is lashing out on people on social media. Nah, not really, man, because he always lashed out at people on social media. But he is a competitor, man. He is a competitor. He is definitely a competitor. Like, he don't like losing. I don't like losing. Like, and honestly, man, you got to sing your praises sometime. Like, this is the Saints we talking about. Like, let's just look at it like this. Marcus Colston had over 700 catches throughout his career. Okay? Always had 1,000-yard seasons, never been to the Pro Bowl. Now, do you think if Marcus Colston was the way that Michael Thomas is right now, as far as with his personality, you don't think that he probably would have ended up going to the Pro Bowl or anything like that? Probably. You know what I'm saying? Probably he would have. But the fact that he was just so quiet and he just was about his business. But that's not what Michael Thomas is, man. Michael Thomas, he doesn't, he just like to talk his stuff. But like I said, I have absolutely no problem with people, being on social media talking noise, but backing it up on the field. You know what I'm saying? And he talks a lot of noise. So the fact that he still goes out there and he performs at a high level, I ain't got no problem with it. None at all. So he can continue to talk, Like I said, he's not hurting anybody. He's not going out here, being in the news. You don't hear about him getting arrested. You don't hear about him being in no domestic violence cases. You don't hear about him taking drugs or anything like that. I can think of worse things a guy can be doing than talking on social media. Falcon fan, Falcon for Life Rise Up says, why do you think people are not talking about the Falcons? We have a good team this season. Not saying we're Super Bowl ready, but we do have a good team. We got Matt Ryan, Ty Gurley, and Julio Jones. Falcon for Life, man. Thank you very much, man, for taking a part in the State of the Saints podcast. And to be honest with you, I'm going to just be real, man. I think the reason why people aren't talking about the Atlanta Falcons, it has a lot to do with people are not really sure, about your coach's future. Now, I understand that he's, they brought him back, they bringing him back again, but a lot of people don't really trust Dan Quinn. I don't know why. He has brought you all to a Super Bowl. He's a good defensive-minded coach. But a lot of people just feel like the Atlanta Falcons leave a lot to be desired on the field, and there's a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to the coaching staff, which I really don't understand it, man. And I think that you as a Falcon fan, you should feel frustrated. And I'm not saying this as a joke. I'm saying it to be serious, my friend. The fact that you guys have, I mean, you beat like some of the best teams in the league last year. Like you went to San Francisco, you went to Santa Clara and beat the 49ers right after one of their big wins against the Saints. You dominated the Saints inside of the Superdome. So I really don't know, man. I mean, it's just like the tale of two teams or something. Like y'all play like world beaters when y'all going up against elite competition, but then you lay an egg when you go against weak competition. So I feel like if you can just put it all together and and make sure that you answer some of the questions about your head coach, I think y'all should be okay. I think y'all made some really good moves by allowing some of your defensive staff, like Raheem Moore. I think y'all switched him over from his role on the defensive side of the ball. So, I think y'all can do some things, but y'all, I mean, I just think that's the reason why they don't get talked about. Joe says nobody care about that team, man. Look, look, man, at the same time, I understand, we joke around and stuff like that, but I mean, if they want to talk, if they want to talk about this, their team, I ain't got no problem with that, man. I mean, it's all rivalry at the end of the day. I think we all want our team to win. Not a real big fan of theirs. I'm pretty sure they're not a real big fan of ours, but at the same time, if somebody asks me my honest opinion about a team, I'm gonna give it to them. So let's see. Tim, thank you very much for the $5. You said I just realized your name is Tim and your brother is Sam. My name is Tim and my brother is Sam. It's fate that we are both Saints fans. Yeah, Tim. I think you said that in a comment before, if I'm not mistaken. I think you said that. I think the last time I did a show with my brother Sam. Yeah, man. It's crazy, man. That your name is Tim and you have a brother named Sam, but. I mean, I guess there's so many names in this world. I guess, eventually you're going to come across somebody that has the same name as you, even some of the same names as your brothers and sisters. So, man, thank you so much for your $5 donation, man. I appreciate that. Iceman says, I want to know why we get on AB for his antics, but people forgive Jameis for doing the same things. Can you explain that, TJ? It's okay. The thing about Antonio Brown and Jameis is this. Jameis did what the majority of the things that he did was in college. Jameis hasn't done anything in the pros. Even like when he was suspended or whatever, like it had to do with what he did in college. I mean, he was a kid, man. He did a lot of things when he was at Florida State. But he's been an upstanding citizen, in the NFL. Like he hasn't done anything. When it comes to Antonio Brown, I think this was just a guy with an identity crisis. This was a dude who came into the league from a small school, started to believe his own press clippings, and all of a sudden he just allowed that to, take over his life. You know what I'm saying? And it seemed like he just could not put down social media. It seemed like he couldn't, stay out of trouble. It seemed like, police was always getting called to his house. I mean, people get tired of that stuff, man. Like the police ain't getting called to Jameis' house every weekend. I mean, there was so many different cases from Antonio Brown that we haven't we don't even know about it as fans of the NFL. Man, they were basically coming to this dude's house like the milkman. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the reason why a lot of people are looking at Jameis and be like, okay, Jameis, it seems like he's trying to grow up. I mean, the man that got married, he got a son now. A lot of the things that he did in college, and I think I can attest to that. I mean, I was in college, I did some stupid stuff. I mean, I ain't steal no crab legs or nothing like that, but I done stuck in a girl dorm room a couple times. You know what I'm saying? I done had a girl in my dorm room. I mean, I done different things. You know what I'm saying? Where campus police had to get called. You know what I'm saying? Like. When I had a girl in my room one time and the security came up in there, they did a dorm raid and, I had to end up like going down to the campus security office and I had to pay a fine. You know what I'm saying? I done different things like that before. So we all do crazy things, but It's a matter of us growing up from it. And I just feel like with AB, man, this guy's like in his 30s and he's still out there on that childlike stuff, man, and that ain't cool. Uh, let's see. Falcons. I honestly think the Bucks are getting overhyped. It's going to be the same thing. Saints and Falcons on top of the division. Yeah, it seems like it's always that way, man. I don't know about Tampa. I think they're gonna win 10 games. I'm gonna be honest with you, Falcon for life. I had y'all like last in the division, man, because I'm just not so sure about y'all coach, man. I'm just not so sure about y'all coach. I don't think y'all gonna, be 7-9. I had y'all at 9-7, but I'm just not sold on y'all coach, man. The Vikings had no answer for Taysom Hill, none whatsoever. Why they gave up featuring him still has me scratching my head. That's because they got Drew Brees, man. Like you go with the hand that that brought you there, man. You can't do that. I get it. I get it. He had a real big game, but that don't mean that you just give up on Drew. Todd Gurley has old lady knees. That's why the Lambs got rid of him. Yeah, Todd Gurley. Yeah, he's still it's still question marks about his career right now. I think those ACL tears starting to catch up with him that he had in college. No offense, I think the Saints have the problem with Sean Payton making dumb decisions at dumb times. He blow it with dumb calls. Nah, I can't agree with that. I can't even get mad at you on that one, Falcon. Falcon for life. I can't even knock you for that one because I agree with you. TJ, what do you think about our best defensive lineup for 2020? Who you lining up? Our defensive line: Marcus Davenport, Sheldon Rankins, Jadeveon Yamada, Cam Jordan. Rotation: Trey Hendrickson, Carl Granderson, Mario Edwards Jr., and Shy Tuttle at the defensive tackle position. So those are the guys that I feel like should be on the line. Hopefully these guys can stay healthy and they can rush the quarterback, man, and get some sacks, man. And somebody other than Cam Jordan can have double digits. Vontaze Burfict seems a little crazy. He goes overboard with the violence and gets fined too much. Leave him where he is. If somebody talking about Vontaze Burfict, no, sir. No, sir. I don't know if that's one of the guys I feel like probably deals with CTE and don't know about it. He just cannot stay out of trouble. And now teams are going to zero in on him. Anytime, the hit looks a little bit too violent, they're going to throw a flag and he's going to continue to get fined. I'm sorry, TJ. If Drew can't make all the throws, it's time to go. Well, you got to tell that to Sean Payton, man. You got to tell that to Sean Payton. As long as Drew Brees wants to continue to play for the Saints, they're going to let him. And, as long as he wants to play, he going to play. But I do feel like his arm strength is not where it needs to be. But that's just what it is, man. That's just the way the Saints play now. They've been playing like that for the last couple of years. So it's up to them if they're going to continue to have Drew Brees out there to figure out how can they, compensate for his deficiencies. Drew holds Sean Payton creativity back. TJ, Saints just might have more than a ring, and he did not want to maintain a precious relationship with number 9's ego. That's an argument. You know what I'm saying? That's an argument that deserves to be had. I have to say that, man. I think sometimes Sean Payton lives vicariously through Drew Brees. I think sometimes, he relies too much on Drew Brees, and I think that he don't trust his players. He don't trust his players, the way that I feel like he should. Michael Thomas is confident, not cocky, and he's humble at the same time. Man, the only thing you can say about Michael Thomas is he talk noise on social media. You don't never see this man out here in the streets doing nothing crazy. You don't never see this man out here just embarrassing the team. Dude is an upstanding citizen. I don't get it, man. Everybody's not gonna be Barry Sanders. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't gonna throw the football to the referee after he scored a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? No, everybody is not gonna be that way. Everybody is not going to be Marcus Colston. This guy's a guy that just likes to talk trash. You know what I'm saying? What do you guys think these dudes do on the field? Do you think these dudes don't talk trash to each other on the field? Just because you might not see some of those guys go on social media, man, these guys be talking that talk on the field. So, man, dude ain't running for president of the United States or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? This guy isn't one of those guys that's trying to, run for any type of office. It's just, he's a football player, and he likes to talk noise, but he backs it up. So until, like, he starts talking noise and don't back it up, and we feel like, oh, man, he talking all that noise, but he ain't making up for it, then we can have the conversation. But the man had 149 catches, 1,700 yards, had more catches than any other player in the first 4 seasons in the NFL. Like, this shouldn't even be a conversation. Like, who cares about a guy, what he talks about on Twitter or whatever like that? Like, those guys go back and forth. That's their thing. But he's out there balling. So, you can't ask for anything more than that. I feel like anything else, I'm sorry, but it's a little bit nitpicky to me, man, that we would talk about a guy that performs at a high level. That's like Muhammad Ali. Like, that's like saying, man, I'm tired of Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali talked noise, but he backed it up in the ring. He fought. You know what I'm saying? He beat Sonny Liston. You know what I'm saying? He beat George Foreman. You know what I'm saying? Like, guys talk. But as long as they can back it up, I have absolutely no problem with that. I don't know what it is with Matt Ryan and Cam. It's like when Matt Ryan sees Cam coming, he just lets him get him. I don't know, man. Cam Jordan a beast, man. He a beast. TJ, I know you probably talked about Jameis already, but if you stack Jameis up to Taysom, who do you think would be the better quarterback for the Saints? To be honest with you, I couldn't answer that question. Last time I seen Jameis Winston, he was throwing picks all over the place, okay? So, I understand he threw for 5,000 yards, but he still threw for 30 interceptions, and that's not good. The only knock that we have on Taysom Hill is the fact that we haven't seen a whole sample size yet. So, I guess, if you're looking at it from a starter standpoint and the experience, you have to pick Jameis, but I will have to see those two compete in training camp for me to answer that question. And I'm not just going to say Jameis because he started since he got into the league back in the day. All football fans with their teams, thank you. I feel like the most important thing Drew offense is his mind. So we're hoping he can put as much as he can into Taysom and Jameis because his scramble touchdown days at a 1-yard line are over. I don't know, man. He's still diving over the top, man. So I don't know. He still has a little something in there. He still got some bunnies. Drew Brees needs to go talk to that doctor that can help that kid on the baseball movie with his. I guess you're talking about Arn. Man, look, man, the man is 40 years old, man. He's 40. Like, you're not going to – for all those 40-year-old watchers of the State of the Saints podcast, you can't do the same things you once did when you were in your 20s. I'm 33, and I know I can't do some of the same things that I did in my 20s. So, Father Time is undefeated. You're not going to be the same quarterback. He's not going to have the same arm strength. He's not going to have the same speed. It's just what it is. So, TJ, are you saying you cool with Drew retiring on his own terms, even if he holding the team back? He not holding the team back. No, I can't say that. I can't say, and if you can't say that Drew Brees is the only reason why the team is being held back. Drew Brees ain't the one that gave up the Minneapolis Miracle. Drew Brees ain't the one that got smoked by Adam Thielen. Drew Brees ain't the one that got beat by Kyle Rudolph in the back of the end zone in overtime. Drew Brees ain't the one that got ran over by Marshawn Lynch. You know what I'm saying, on the defensive side of the football. Drew Brees ain't the one that gave up the pass to Vernon Davis in the divisional round of the playoffs. So we can't just sit up here and just say it's all Drew's fault for the Saints not being able to get over the hump. You can't say that, man. We talked about the defense and them giving up big plays at the end of the games, but then we'll turn around and say, "Oh, Drew Brees getting old." Like, we can't have it both. We can't have it both ways, folks. Is Drew Brees what he used to be? Absolutely not. But is he the main reason why the Saints just lose in the playoffs every single year? No. You know what I'm saying? It's not just him. It's not just him. So And like I said, as far as like him retiring on his own terms, absolutely. Like he deserves to retire on his own terms. Who are we to say that a guy who threw for 15 touchdowns, 1 interception in December, is just that horrible to a point where we don't feel like we can win with him? And I just think that this is just one of those things where we just feel like, once again, we get spoiled as Saints fans because we think that just quarterback production is just going to come by the boatloads. And I get it. I think the Saints are still going to be a good team post Drew Brees, but, man, Drew Brees is a really smart quarterback, man, and a lot of things that he sees on the field when it comes to, like, blitzes and packages and stuff like that, it helps the Saints out a lot. And when you have a young player in there that's probably not used to dealing with those type of blitzes or dealing with the type of packages that defense try to throw at you, I think we're going to really see how important Drew Brees was to this team. So, like I said, in some ways, I would say, he plays a role in not performing well in the playoffs, but he's not the main reason why they lose. He's not. And I can't just say that. Remember when Jameis was eating his fingers during the Buccaneers huddle? I hope he left that in Florida. Yeah, he was eating them W's, man. We were down 17 to the Vikings. That's on Drew. We had an interception in the NFC Championship game, and he couldn't convert on a short field. It's mostly Drew, bro. Drew Brees, they were down 17 points, right? So Drew Brees playing defense. Did Drew Brees get ran over by Latavius Murray? Like for him to get the opening touchdown. Did Drew Brees, get ran over most of the day by Latavius Murray in the first half? I'm just saying. Man, you can't just put this all on Drew Brees. Like, I understand what it is now. Everybody want to blame Drew Brees. Drew Brees holding the team back. Man, like I said, Drew Brees, if I can put a percentage, I have to say Drew Brees probably like about 15, 20%. You know what I'm saying? But even when Drew Brees plays at his worst, he still, like, gives the team a chance to have a go-ahead, touchdown or, gives the team a position to take the lead. So it be the defense that be giving up them big plays sometimes. So, he may play bad and he may not play some of his best games, but I'm not just going to sit up here and say it's just all on him. I agree that's stupid. Prevent defense at the end of games is why the Saints are on the losing side in the playoffs. They're playing great until the end. Our biggest mistake in Saints history is getting rid of Willie Roaf, Malcolm Jenkins, and especially Darren Sproles. Yeah, I agree. Terrible moves. We had a fumble early in the last year game, and he couldn't convert again. And he followed that up with a fumble and a sack and a bad interception when we in the playoffs. Yeah. But what about the defense, though, Iceman T? Why are we not talking about what the defense did? Why are we not talking about how what was that? I can't remember. It was Patrick Robinson or Marcus Williams who ended up, knocking Marshawn Lattimore out of the play. Why are we not talking about, as much as I like the guy, the 4th and 2, that C.J. Gardner-Johnson put up on George Kittle, and the defense couldn't get the guy on ground until he got into field goal range. Why are we not talking about Vernon Davis catching that crucial pass in the 49ers game when they were playing prevent? Like, man, we got to be real, man. Like, we can't just sit up here and just say it's all this guy's fault just because he fumbled the football and he gave us some turnovers, okay? Because, it happens, you know what I'm saying? But anytime you look at Drew Brees, he put the team back. He put the Saints back in a position where they actually took the lead. Like, he put them in a position where they can have a go-ahead score. So I'm not going to knock Drew Brees all the way for that. I'm not. I get it. We tired of Sean Payton. We tired of Drew Brees. Are they as good as we think they are? I get all that. But at the same time, man, like, I'm not going to do that. Because we were cheering like a mug. Like, when Drew Brees around here throwing all them touchdowns, and you know what I'm saying, like, and I'm not saying we don't supposed to hold them accountable, but for us to be like, man, we need to get them up out of here just because we ain't been winning a couple playoff games, and it's not just him, then I mean I feel like that's a problem. That stupid prevent defense. Sean loses the game. You guys do realize he's the way that call them dumb plays. Peyton has been the reason we can't go forward, and the Saints fans praise him like he's the best damn coach ever. That's because they don't have anything to compare him to, man. That's just what it is. They don't have anything to compare him to. They don't have anybody to compare Sean Payton to because the Saints always had a history of losing. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, like that's the reason why, Saints fans are so patient. Like they just happy to be winning because all them years of losing, they feel like at least we in the playoffs, at least we got 10 wins, at least we are division champs. At one time we ain't even had that. But TJ, how can you give him credit for saving me out of a burning building when he started the fire? You can't have it both ways. Yes, I can, because we're not talking about somebody dying. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I can have it both ways. Like if that's the case, okay, I put it like that. Dude, you know what I'm saying? Like if Drew Brees makes mistakes, right? He make mistakes, which he is human. He's gonna make mistakes. And and now also, you know what I'm saying, like he comes back and he in the second half and they end up winning the game. But he ended up throwing like a touchdown to give them the go-ahead win. Are you gonna not say the reason why the Saints won that game is because Drew Brees threw a touchdown? He threw a game-winning touchdown. No matter if he had one touchdown, 2 interceptions, you're gonna be like, well, Drew Brees the reason why the team, the Saints won the game. So, like I said, I just feel like Drew Brees isn't the main reason why the Saints lose in these games. And we can't just sit up here and just want flawless, like flawless performances all the time because that's just not going to happen. I mean, as many Super Bowls Tom Brady got. Tom Brady haven't played some of his best football in the playoffs like that. Tom Brady didn't turn the ball over. Tom Brady had to count on his defense in order for him to win some games. So, I mean, we can't just sit up here and, and we still look at Tom Brady as being an all-time great. TJ, if the Patriots can get rid of Tom, we can ask Drew to step aside. Well, I mean, one of those players has been with the same organization for 20 years. One of them been with the organization going on 15 years. One of them still, completion percentage is still one of the highest in the NFL. Still ranked among the top 10, and one of those aren't even ranked in the top 20 anymore. So you can argue and say that, if you're looking at it statistically, Tom Brady statistics has dwindled. It was one of the reasons why they decided to get rid of him. And, Drew Brees, who's to say? Like I said, maybe this is Drew Brees' last year, and they feel like, okay, no harm, no foul. You know what I'm saying? Let's just give him, his last year. Because, I think you have to take that in consideration, too. Maybe he didn't think about coming back. Maybe he just wants to play one more year to give it one more shot. T.J. Jones for starting quarterback. Man, I don't know about that one, man. I was a better receiver than I would ever be a quarterback. I don't know about that, Josh. Nah, I don't know about that one. Nah, man. But they need somebody to catch the ball. I'm pretty sure I can do that pretty well. Drew Brees is undoubtedly the boy from the movie, Rocky, Rookie of the Year. Drew was not even over 17,000 yards when his arm was basically ripped off of his body. He had truly the hardest, but we lost 3 years. Look, man, I get people's frustration in the Who Dat Nation. I do, man. I understand. I understand that, but I don't know, man. I just can't get behind the whole fact that I just feel like Drew Brees is just the main reason why the Saints just not winning the playoffs all those years. I just can't do that. This defense has been breaking our hearts for years. they've been breaking our hearts for years, man. So, and honestly, man, we don't know how long Drew Brees is going to be playing. We don't. We don't know if Drew Brees is going to retire after this season, mid-season. We don't know, man. Like, he did think about retiring, and I know some of us probably felt like, man, he was just doing it, but I really felt like was considering retiring, and I really feel like there was a strong chance he was going to do it. So this might be his last year. You might get what you want at the end of the season. So, and maybe, if he doesn't come back and he doesn't play at a high level, maybe the Saints will, talk about moving on. But I don't think so, because when you look at Drew Brees saying, I don't want to play for any other team but the Saints, I believe him. And I feel like when, he can't get the ball down the field the way that he once did, or get the ball where it needs to be as far as the accuracy standpoint, he's going to step aside. Josh and Jesus, that's not a bad idea. TJ Jones for starting quarterback. Like I said, I don't know about that. If Drew Brees would have retired, Tom Brady would want to play for the New Orleans Saints, not Tampa Bay. Yep, that's true. I heard that. Tom Brady was interested in the Saints, and the Saints was interested in him if Drew Brees didn't come back. That would have been interesting. And I would have wondered how y'all would have felt about that. Everybody was mad at Drew, but ain't say nothing about Tom saying the N-word on national television. I don't I don't know about. I ain't hear that. I'll be honest. Drew Brees is better than all the quarterbacks in the NFL. I hope and pray Sean Payton is keeping him for statistical purposes. I hope that's not the case. I don't think so, man. I think that Drew Brees really was going to retire. I really feel like that. I feel this is the way I feel. I feel like if Drew Brees would have played all 16 games in the playoffs, he probably would have retired. But it's the fact that he missed those games. I feel like he wants to continue and play a full season and then ride off into the sunset. That's the way I look at it. I don't think, me personally, I would be highly surprised if Drew Brees plays the 2021 season. I would be highly surprised. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that Drew Brees was supposed to play this upcoming season. I really feel like the Saints signed Teddy Bridgewater back because they wanted him to be the successor. They didn't count on him being able to play this season. Drew Brees is Iron Man. They were like, okay, we're going to sit him on the sidelines. He can watch. He can learn the system. And then once Drew retires, then we can go ahead and put Teddy as our new starting quarterback. That's what I feel like the Saints were going to do. But then, Teddy Bridgewater, I feel like this. Drew Brees probably was going to retire. Drew Brees probably was going to, not play. But Teddy Bridgewater getting that big contract, I feel like the New Orleans Saints just felt like they don't feel like Taysom is fully ready to be the starter just yet. So who else do we have? Well, let's see if Drew going to come back. So I feel like Teddy Bridgewater was the guy that they had all along. I don't care what nobody say. I know y'all see some type of irony. The fact that he leaves the New Orleans Saints and he goes to the teams that's going to run a New Orleans Saints type offense with the Carolina Panthers and Joe Brady. Now come on, man. How many clues do you all need to prove to you that Teddy Bridgewater was supposed to be the starting quarterback of the Saints, but he played himself out of New Orleans because he played so well? Drew Brees wasn't, in my opinion, he wasn't even on the agenda. I think him and Sean Payton had a conversation. I think Drew said he was going to retire after the season. I think that he was like, okay, well, we're going to go out here. We're going to sign Teddy. Teddy, I know you supposed to go to Miami. I know you can be a starter, but we want you to be our starting quarterback the next season because Drew is considered retired. That's the way I look at it. They'll never come out there and say that. They'll never come out there and discuss that, of course, because, that's not for the media to know. But if you put two and two together and how everything lined up, that's the way the Saints were supposed to be. This was supposed to be Teddy Bridgewater's team in 2020, but it didn't work out that way. Not really. We still would have a good team without Drew. Yep. I think so. I think a lot of people aren't considering it. I think a lot of people aren't considering that they're going to be a good team, and they got a lot of good, solid leadership. But I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here, man. Thank you all for your questions. Thank you all for your statements. I really do appreciate it, man. Thank you for taking a part in the State of the Saints podcast live on YouTube. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast, facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. And you all have a good rest of your day and be safe out there. Much love. Till next time. All I got to say is